Hey everybody, welcome to the live stream. Today I am going to be messing around with pre-delay for reverb. The last stream I had shown my new rig here. Hey Harper, let's show the mixer here. I installed this mixer in the studio and I had a video last week about using this and running through using my old reverbs and stuff like that. Today we're going to do some of that again, but this time we're going to talk about pre-delay. So pre-delay is something that's part of reverb. If you think of reverb, here I'll play you like a little snare drum part here with some reverb. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, reverb would be here's a snare drum without reverb, and this is reverb. Hear that room sound. So pre-delay is a gap in time between the initial sound, in this case that little stick snare sound, and the reverb sound. And it's actually something that you would experience like if you went into a church or an auditorium and clapped your hands, it doesn't always go psh. There's always a little bit of gap, and that gap is the amount of time it takes the sound of your hand to start reaching the walls and bouncing around and creating the reverb. And the bigger the room, the longer the pre-delay. And the way that's important with artificial reverbs in mixing and producing music is that can really change the character of the reverb sound. And I'll show you some of that as we get into this a little bit more. Now, to complicate matters a little bit more, I actually am going to be using my outboard gear again. In this case, well, let me play the track a little bit, and I'm going to actually kind of get a little bit of a quick mix set up here. This is something, like I said, I'll just play the drums here. Something I was working on last week. So I had added reverbs to some of these last week, but I got this other snare drum sound. Yeah, so I want to add reverb to that snare drum sound here. I want to add reverb to this. That sound right there. So I'm going to add reverb to that, but I'm going to put pre-delay on it. So let's go to the mixer view. So this is my wedge outboard reverb right here. It actually has a pre-delay setting, and unfortunately I don't know if my camera is quality enough to show it. It does have a built-in pre-delay here, but I want to actually use some outboard stuff, an outboard delay for that. So what I'm going to do is do it with my old Roland digital delay. So let's go to the rack view here. So this right here is my old Roland digital delay. And the way I've got the signal sent right now is the send to the reverb is coming out of the DAW. It's going into this delay. And from the delay, it goes back to the wedge reverb I just showed, and then that goes into my mixer, and then that's fed back into the DAW. This is not doing anything right now, but I can easily show you the difference. So right now, there's no pre-delay on it. I've got it set for 131 milliseconds. I'm going to go ahead and turn up the delay. So you hear how now the reverb comes in later. If I double that delay, that's a bit much. Now, by itself, that might seem a little weird, but the cool thing about doing that is that the thing that makes that cool, let's go back to here. The thing that makes that cool is that reverb can muddy up a signal. If you got too much reverb on it, it can kind of cloud up the actual initial sound and muddy up the mix, but by having pre-delay, it kind of makes the reverb sound a little bit more behind you. And it can kind of separate, because it's separating the effect from the sound a little bit more, it kind of gives it more clarity. And there's a lot of other things you can do with it. Also, by making it in rhythm with the beat, it can kind of help create kind of a rhythmical element to the sound. So, and I remember, now that I'm thinking about it, the first time I ever experienced that was I was working on an album in Miami in the 80s at Sunset Sound, which was KC and the Sunshine Band studio. And the guy was like running through a plate reverb, and he did that with a snare drum, and I was hooked on experimenting with pre-delay. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play this drum beat, and I'm going to turn off and on the pre-delay so you can hear the difference. Okay, so there it is with, I'm going to make it no pre-delay first. There's no pre-delay. Now I'm going to add a pre-delay. You hear that? So it goes, boo wow. Now I'm going to double the pre-delay. That's a bit long. That's a little bit long. I'm going to bring it down a little bit. Ooh, I like that. Okay, there it is with it. I'm going to turn it off again. No pre-delay. And now with pre-delay. Ooh, I like that. Let's hear it in the mix. Woo! So let's turn off the reverb. There it is with no reverb. Now with reverb. Now I'm going to turn off the pre-delay. You know, I kind of like both of them. But it's not always a matter of like, either I have the pre-delay or not. This is the mix knob. That's what I'm doing. Like when I got it to the right, you're hearing it with full pre-delay. When I got it to the left, you're hearing it without pre-delay. But if I put it halfway and blend it, you're getting a combination of the original signal and the delay. So the reverb is going to get hit with both those signals. So check it out. Here it is halfway. Ooh, I like that. Full pre-delay. Okay, I'm going to dial it back a little bit. Now I'm going to try something wacky. I'm going to try turning up the feedback, see what happens. Whoa. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Hold on. I got to solo that. Oh, hold on, let me just go to the drums. I mean, normally when you're doing pre-delay, you just kind of normally do one delay. So I had it down, but just kind of turning up the feedback on the pre-delay, it does that. Hold on, I gotta mess with that a little bit. And by the way, I'll come back to your questions in just a minute before I finish obsessing with this little setting here. So hold on, I'll come back to your questions. Hold on, I gotta hear that. So here's no feedback. I'm gonna turn up feedback. That's cool. I'm gonna make the delay longer. Okay, now I'm just being goofy. Let's put a little modulation on there. Ooh, God, I love having the modulation on there. It gives the reverb more character, and that's just coming from the pre-delay. I'm not actually modulating the reverb per se. I'm actually modeling the pre-delay, which then modulates the signal going into the reverb. Woo! Oh, that's kind of crazy. But I ain't gonna do it. So I'm gonna come back to this in a second. There were some questions Oh, Barney of the Rebel, what's going on? Thanks, Barney. Yeah, it has been a minute. Things going on here. Yes, the baby grand, it does add so much to the rhythms. And that's the thing about pre-delay that people overlook. Like, and I'm just focusing on the drums right now. There's a lot of things you can do with it on the vocals, but for drums, it's amazing how subtle it can be too. That it will make the drums have more rhythm to it because of the delay that's happening in there. But it also is a way to kind of make the reverb stand out. I have this theory of mixing. One of my theories of mixing is that when you've really nailed a sound, you can turn it down in the mix. When you're really nailing it, you can turn it down. But if you find yourself in a mix, like constantly turning something up, God, I don't hear the reverb, you're turning it up. Sometimes it's not that it's not loud enough. Sometimes it's just the wrong sound. And if you can give your sounds more of a distinct character, you're able to fix them into the mix better, provided that everything else doesn't have the same kind of character, like frequency, range, and stuff like that.
DJ Kurt Atlanta was saying hi, Derek Crooms, and he were just talking about you.
Oh, thanks. Hey, guys, what's going on?
And then also the question, do you have any pre-delay tips for techno?
Yeah, I saw that question. It would just kind of be the same for kind of every style, you know. It's not really a genre-specific thing. I think one of the things is to try, you know, making the pre-delay in time with the music. However, just putting in, you know, the exact delay time may not accomplish what you want because depending on the reverb, it might have a slower attack, so it might sound a little late. So sometimes you'll want to, start with that as a starting point. But try messing with the delay time a little bit. Sometimes things don't always have to be exactly in the rhythm, technically in the beat of the song. I'm tired. I'm having a hard time coming up with the right words to make it sound right. A lot of times when people are putting like a delay on vocal or guitar or drums or anything, they're doing it exactly in time with the music. But I tend to like to make things a little later sometimes. Just kind of, I don't know, it just, in a weird way, kind of makes the delay more obvious because it's hitting slightly behind the beat. Do I ever sidechain reverbs? No. I mean, I probably have. It's a cool question. I could try something. I mean, I've probably done it like as a weird special effect, like, oh, going into this bridge, you know, we might do something weird, but it's like something that is just going to happen regularly. I don't really do it. I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I just hadn't really thought of it. I sidechain other things, but that's from Steven Beats. I don't know. It's a good question, though. There was
I think you got it.
Yeah, you should definitely play with that. So what was I going to do? Okay, I want to try doing this on the Rev 7. I was having a bit of a problem with the Rev 7 earlier. But actually, let me print this one first. I want to tweak this out just a bit first, and then I'm going to print this sound. Let me mess with it a little bit more. Hold on. Let's go to the rack. Alrighty, so I am now going to print that. So as I explained earlier, let's go to the mixer real quick. What I'm doing is I'm sending a signal. It's coming. Actually, let's go to the DAW. Actually, so here's what I got going on. I'm in Ableton. I'm sending to an insert return. You can see the last one here. That's a B, C, D, E, F, G, H. Oh, it's I. So it's insert I. No, it's I. It's going to this insert return right here. But what I'm doing is, normally you would put a plug in here. What I'm doing is I'm sending that insert return to an external output. So right now it's going to 11, which is actually on my Apogee. And now let's go to the rack so I can explain what's going on here. So actually, well, you can't see it down here. I'll just kind of angle the camera down a little bit here. So what I've got is, it's coming out of the apogee. This is the apogee output. That is going to this on my patch bay, which is not labeled right now because I'm still moving things around. That now is going into the Roland digital delay. Then that comes out of this, which is the output of the Roland digital delay. And then that goes over to, let me turn this here, which is the input for the wedge. And then that goes, let's go back to the mixer. That goes to here. This is where the wedge is coming into the mixer. And then I can EQ it and do stuff if I want to. I'm not doing it right now. And then that's going to a group output here. So that's +4 balanced line. And then that back to the rack. That comes out of my group outputs, which you can't see. They're like way under here. There. And then those, hold on, those are going into, oh yeah, these go back into my Rosetta. And then I record those back into the DAW. And then you can see I've got my DAW set for inputs 11 and 12. So I'm going to now print the reverb sound. So here we go. Oh, wrong.
So how many milliseconds late?
Oh, how many milliseconds?
And the screen shows 104. Do you think that's the time? They're
No. So yeah, I was explaining this before. I think the time was like originally it was like 121 or 131, which is kind of technically like an eighth note, but it just, I don't know. I didn't like it. I'll usually start on the time, whether it's 16th, eighth note, whatever. I just shortened it because I liked it better. I'll just kind of mess around. So that's what I ended up doing. So it's 104. Yes, the time is 104 milliseconds for this song. So let's print it. Turn off the vocals. Not there yet. Oh, where are my vocals at? All right, so I got those printed now. And that's actually the only time that section happens in the song at this point in time. So now let me hit save and take that out of record.
Mikkel Grumboven is in Copenhagen. He stopped in, noted that he's sporting a GB 40 channel Soundcraft desk in his home studio. He has to dip out, but we'll be watching the rest of the stream later.
Oh, nice. Cool, Michael. That's awesome, man. Yeah, and I actually just made a video about putting this board in. I had put out a short one on YouTube a few weeks ago. I ended up having to clean all the channels on the board. Like, I actually took the board apart, cleaned the potentiometers for every, what's a 631 knobs on here. So I had to go through and, squirt the stuff and spin the knobs. On 631 potentiometers, I pulled out all the faders, took them apart, cleaned them, put it all back together. I had to redo everything here. I had to redo the desk and everything. I made a video about it. I was going to try to put it out today. It's not done yet. But the thing was, I kept thinking, like, maybe I'm just kind of being nostalgic or something like that, and I'm putting a mixer in here because I'm used to having a mixer and all that. But then after I got it in here, the last couple weeks of using it and working on the video and all that and doing these live streams, I'm realizing, like, man, I miss having a mixer. And the thing that really hit me is that in most home studios, if you think about your home studio as like, what is the center of the system? In most cases, it's your DAW. It's your interface, right? And that's what I've been doing here in this home studio for, a few years now because I didn't have a console here. But it was just so many things that were kind of hard to do. Like, the software mixers aren't that good, and you're basically completely limited by how many inputs and outputs on your DAW you have. So all these conversions going on. And sometimes there's things that are going on during a session that I don't need to be running through an interface for. I don't need to be doing conversion on. Putting this mixer in here and getting the new system set up made me realize that the key for me to having a good home studio and being able to efficiently do the things that I want to do, such as recording drums, because tomorrow I've got a drum session with Terrell Sass. He's a drummer. He's a very well-known drummer. He's coming in to do drums for a session, is to make sure that the mixer is the center of my studio, not the DAW, not the interface. The interface is just another tool for kind of converting my audio. But as far as doing sessions and being able to do collaborative sessions with, 5 musicians in the room or a couple dolls and all that, having a mixer, oh my God, I got to tell you, man, like when I got to the end of the video and I was talking about it, well, you got to see the video. Just to say, I got a little emotional, but it just makes me realize I've been kind of like fighting an uphill battle for years here. Now that I have this here, it's just awesome.
Couple things. People are asking if you've worked with Muck Sticky.
No, I have not with...
Oh, I thought you had.
No, I've not worked with Muck Sticky. We've talked about it. We met in Memphis. Al Capone introduced us. We were down on Beale Street, and I was like, hey, there's this guy I want you to meet. And he walks me up to this guy who's in pajamas, right, walking down the street. And I'm like, what is this guy doing wearing pajamas on Beale Street? And that was Muck Sticky. And God, that was like 10, 12 years ago. And there's been some talk about us working. And then lately, I'm seeing him online a lot. He's kind of blown up, and he's got some really funny songs. And I messaged him. We talked about working together. It's not happened yet. I'm hoping it will happen. Hey, you know what? Can you write down a note? Muck Sticky.
Okay.
Been so slammed. I need to hit him up because I think he's really funny and I enjoy his stuff. But yeah, hopefully that'll happen.
And then a question about, for a live gig on open air, can artificial reverb or delay help it feel less big? If you can simulate the return from a virtual wall, do you know what I mean?
That's an interesting question. I've not mixed much live sound. I did for a little while in the 80s. Went out and I was actually mixing for a band. I was actually looking for a gig as a guitar player and singer. And a guy found me a gig to run sound. I did it for a few months. And to be honest with you, I hated it. Live sound is like not fun. It's hard work. I have a lot of respect for guys mixing live sound. I just couldn't hack it. And I did run delay and reverbs on the vocals back then, but nowadays, I will say when I go to concerts sometimes, yeah, there's room sound in the venue and sometimes some reverb, but yet sometimes to me the instruments still sound small. I don't know if adding delay or reverb could make it sound smaller, but it might maybe help differentiate them a little bit more from each other and the room. I don't know. That's actually a good question. It's just sometimes I go to venues and they just sound so terrible. I was thinking about that gig we did at Mad Life recently. They have an amazing sound system. I thought that sounded pretty good. I saw something down at the Eastern in Atlanta, and the sound's terrible there. There's one spot it sounds kind of good, but it was just echoey and the bass was boomy. It's a newer venue. They must still be working out the sound. But I don't know. That's a good question. I honestly don't know the answer to that. What's that? Pretty good.
What do you?
So it's over on YouTube. It's Michael Gunn Bovin. He says, "Looks like you
got a pretty good hand-on proficiency. I'll definitely check your videos out. Like your energy.
Yeah, definitely go check out my YouTube channel. I hadn't been posting as many videos as I would like because I'm working and renovating my studio again. So we'll see if there's any other questions.
Well, do you generally high pass your reverb send?
Well, no. I do EQ the reverb. Okay, so there's a lot of theories about that. I probably should. It's just that, like if I'm in a DAW and I'm sending to a reverb plugin, the ability to EQ the send, I would have to run through another auxiliary and all that. It just gets too complex. Usually what I do is I actually, well, I guess I could put a delay, I could put an EQ on the channel before the reverb, of course. For some reason, I always put the EQ after the reverb. It's just something I do. I probably should put it before it, but I don't know, for some reason I've always gotten a habit of doing it. But yes, but bottom line is, it's kind of good to roll off. And you're talking about high pass. I actually do low pass on reverb sends, especially on vocals. I'm taking off some high end because I feel like a lot of the modern reverb plugins are just kind of too clean sounding. I also add a little saturation and distortion after the reverb. I actually mess up the reverb a little bit just to kind of give it some more character, and it, once again, allows me to turn it down. Yes, this is the Baby Grand. We are streaming on Instagram, Twitch, and YouTube at the same time. Can you throw the links up?
Yep. Because
Instagram sucks, man. Instagram's gonna like get all jerky and freeze up. So if you want to see it, I think both Twitch and YouTube do pretty good. Okay, so Joe, Jero, and I can't read it. My eyesight's so bad. Jero, he says, what is the plugin from the last few years that you use on everyday work? And I know that answer right away. Hold on. I think I got it right here. You know what? I might not actually on this one. Now I'm thinking about it. Hold on. I think it would be... Here, I'll just bring one up here. It's by Valhalla. And it's called... Supermassive. Now, Supermassive is a free plugin that you can just get from the Valhalla website. And I got to tell you, it's not something that sounds like an old, like oh, it sounds like an old plate reverb or whatever. It's like, man, it just sounds like, it just sounds, well, let me just play something here. Hold on, let me go to, hold on, what am I sending my vocals to? That's probably a good one. Let me go, where am I sending my vocals? This mix has got, as you can tell, it's got just a few tracks on it. Where are my hook? Got all my vocals. Okay, so they're going 6 EOS. Oh, I think it's this one. And my EOS plugin is kind of missing, like the old version. So I'm going to put this on here. So Supermassive is this crazy reverb. I tend to use, I like this one called Lost Saucer. I don't know why it's called that. But let me go into the hook here. Let me turn on this. And I think this is the right reverb. So if we go, oh, here we go. Oh, no, let me go to the hook. It's right.
Had to let it die. I never could comply with walking through my life as a stranger.
Let me turn off all the other reverbs for the time being. So this sucker.
I had to let it die.
It's just got this. It's when they say Supermassive, it's Supermassive. Now I'm actually using a reverb. It's in their medium category. Let's go to massive. Check this out.
I had to let it die.
Oh wait, why am I not hearing anything? Hold on. Oh.
Good grief.
Well, that was a surprise. Okay, let me just roll through some of the sounds here.
I had to let it die. I never could comply with walking through my life as a stranger. Was hidden deep inside.
And you know, frankly, a lot of these reverbs are like too big for vocals or a lot of things. But it's just got. Let me just try some of the weird settings on here. I love this thing.
Had to let it die.
This is a chorus, ambient chorus.
I never could comply
With it, without it.
with walking through my life as a stranger. What's hidden deep inside? I feel it come alive.
And then we got, I don't know, it's got a lot of...
Says it's a danger.
Woo! So anyway, to answer your question, that right there is a plugin I use all the time. And I think one of the cool things about it is the modulation. It doesn't have any pre-delay on it. Like, it's actually pretty basic. There's no pre-delay. So if I want to have pre-delay on it, I got to put a, some sort of delay before it. But I think one of the things I like about it the most, let me go back to this setting I like a lot, this Lost Saucer. And I normally shorten it because it's so freaking long. But what I like about it is the modulation of the reverb. Come on, play. Here we go. Come on.
I had to let it die. I never could comply.
You hear it's kind of going... And you get that on a lot of reverbs and the plugins, but it's very subtle. This is something like I can turn it down. I like the fact that I can turn it down. I'm not cranking it up all the way to kind of get some character out of it. It's like I have that extra bit there that is just too much, Anyway, that is like...
I had to let it die. I never could comply.
Of course, that's too much reverb, but...
With walking through my life as a stranger. What's hidden deep inside? I feel it come alive. Though everybody says
And then we can lengthen it long here. Crank it up. Woo! Man! That kind of gave me some chills right there. Long reverb, but I'm kind of a nerd. Let me bring that back a little bit. That was a little over. Okay, that was a little over the top. But
Are there any parameters that you like to automate on your reverbs?
yes, actually, one of my tricks is to... I'll show you a little trick here. Okay, hold on. Let me go back to my other reverb that I was actually using. I was using this EOS plugin, this one's actually pretty cool too. As far as what somebody was telling me that this EOS plugin, which is another great big plugin, and I pretty much keep it on the Super Hall right here. Somebody was saying that it was the same designer, like programmer, who did this as some of the Valhalla stuff. I don't know if that's true or not. But as far as a parameter that I like to automate, let me show you one of my standard tricks. This is probably not the best song to show it on, but it would be an easy one to show it on. And that is... I'm not using, let me see, what do I have that I'm actually setting to a reverb on? It's like, okay, it's just not a great example to show it on, but one of the things I'll do is I'll automate the reverb time on a snare drum, right? So you're going into a chorus, and that last snare hit before the chorus, I'll kind of crank it up, and I'll crank up the send to the reverb, and I'll make that reverb like really long, so that in that last snare it goes, pa! And then on the downbeat of the chorus, boom, it comes back. And not on all the songs, but a lot of songs, I'll do that sort of thing, especially like if you have a drop, especially like on rap music, if you have a drop right before the chorus. And then when I say a drop, not in the electronic sense, but in the sense where like on the last line of the verse, you kind of cut all the instruments, and then you come back in on the chorus. A lot of times you have that snare drum hit on the fourth beat right before the downbeat of the chorus, and that would be a typical place. Or like a hand clap, I'll automate the reverb time up and the send going to it, and maybe even EQ it a little bit just for that last hit, and then boom, it just really sets off the next chorus. Any other questions?
Kenton Holmes Music notes it looks like most of those Valhalla presets have some low and high end EQ'd out.
For the Valhalla, well, you know what? Actually, what I'm seeing here, it's interesting you say it. Like, I noticed that right here, they always have the high end EQ'd out. The low end's always down like at 100 hertz or lower. I always have to bring it up because it's so massive. And the other thing about this plugin, you see like a lot, I think the one that I like to use, this Lost Saucer. So it's, as you can see, it's not high passing it at all. I always bring this thing up. It's like, I don't want 10 hertz in there. I don't even want, like, for vocals, I'm bringing it up around like 200 or something like that. You can see the low pass filter is set at 4,500 or 4.5K. There's something about this plugin. It's kind of bright and it's so, you know, kind of, I guess, modern sounding. It sounds like this is set up here. It sounds like this thing is actually low passing at like 6 or 8, even though it says 4.5. I often bring this thing down to like 3, you know, because it's almost too bright. It's a very distinctive reverb for sure. Oh, Casey, I hope your gig went well. I think we're talking about your live gig, or maybe that's coming up where you have to do like 8 bands a day or something like that. Has that happened yet?
He also mentions he had his first gig with gates and compressors.
Oh, cool, man. Nice. How'd that go? Hope that went well.
Can you show the pre-delay trick in the box without the outboard gear?
Yes, we can totally do that. Hold on. Let's go to... I'm going to do this a simple way. Let me go. I'm just going to do it in the track. Well, actually, I can't because this track's frozen. So let's do it like this. Let's go. Actually, I can unfreeze. I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to make a duplicate. And these are all frozen because they came from an older system. And I had some plugins and stuff I was worried about losing. So hold on, let me rename this so I remember what I'm doing here. I'm going to go stick and then, I don't know, example or whatever, so I'll remember. Now, I'm going to unfreeze that because I actually have the samples in there. Unfreeze. And what do I have going on here? Oh, shit, I got some crazy EQ. So this thing is going up. And let me turn off these reverbs. Oh, let me turn that off. Okay, so here's what we got. And let me center it because it's... Okay, so I'm going to do this the easy way. I'm going to go... hold on just a sec. Let me get you there. Let's go EQ8. And this is one of my favorite things about Ableton is I can do this whole grouping thing. Let me actually show what it is. Like, let's say I got this EQ here. If I right-click on it and go group... I don't know why they call it group, but it's called group. But it does this thing here. It makes this little kind of an effects rack. So here's the EQ8, and I can now add a reverb. So I'm going to go and grab the Valhalla. Boom. So now it's like a chain. So it's also got the Valhalla running in. So as you see, so we've got... Whoops, let me go ahead and go to a reverb. I'm just going to use Lost Saucer because that's what I'm used to. So here we go. So you can see it's just basically like a little mixer built into the channel, the snare drum channel there. I'm calling it a snare drum, even if it's a little pop. You can change the volume of it and all that, right? So the way I would put pre-delay on that in the box is I would go... I'm going to go over here and I'm going to grab let me go to my favorites. Let me just grab the filter delay. And I'm going to drop it onto the same channel here. So now this channel it's going to the delay, and then it's going to go to the reverb. And this is a stereo delay. I'm going to turn off the left and right. I'm just going to do the center one here. I'm going to make sure that there's no feedback. Going to turn the feedback all the way down, volume all the way up. And I'm going to start with it being completely wet here, right? And I'm going to go to, instead of doing it, well, I could do it in time. Let's do it in time. So here we go. Hold on. Am I doing this right? Oh, I got to turn it on. So now you hear the pre-delay. Now I'm going to turn the pre-delay off. Turn it back on. You know, it's interesting. It actually makes the reverb sound louder. Now, is that because... Is there something about the... Or maybe if I put this at 0. Hold on. Yeah, it's weird. I was noticing that on my outboard gear, that when I stuck the pre-delay in, I thought, well, maybe it's something about my roll-in digital delay. But I don't know. To me, pre-delay can often make it sound louder. But that's the way you do it there. Let me give you a longer pre-delay. And if I turn off the reverb, here's what's happening. That's what's going to the reverb. You hear that little delay in there? Oh, and it's filtered too, by the way. So if I just listen to the delay alone, for some reason I'm still hearing... Oh. It's bleeding through somehow. I'm not sure exactly how. But anyway. So that is what's going to the reverb. And you can filter. That's one thing I like about this delay here. You can EQ it. Turn the reverb back on. Oh, so here's the mix. Now, and I'm going to shorten it up. Now, the trick with the pre-delay, and by the way, I'm going to come back to this in a second, but on some reverb plugins, there is a pre-delay setting on some plugins, there is a pre-delay control parameter. And a lot of times you start using the pre-delay and there's zero sound coming through until to the reverb, except after that pre-delay. So it's like this really distinctive silence before the reverb comes in. And I don't necessarily like that. Some plugins will kind of blend them. Some allows you to blend them. The reason I like using the delay is that I can blend the amount of pre-delay. So I can go to my dry signal here on this delay. So there it is with the pre-delay. Here's no pre-delay. Wait a sec. Oh, wait, I'm doing something wrong here. What the hell am I doing? I think I got... There's something weird going on with my routing here, and I hadn't figured it out. Am I hearing two different things at the same time? I think I'm doing something stupid. Hold on. That's the one thing about these live streams. Sometimes I got something routed weird, and this song is so complex, and it would take me 20 minutes to figure out what weird routing I got going on. But trust me when I say you can control your pre-delay with this dry signal. So by putting a delay before your reverb, you can give a lot of expression by using the dry signal. This actually happened to me on my live stream where there was like weird stuff going on. I worked on this song a while ago and I brought it up and it's got 1 million tracks and some crazy ass routing on it and I don't remember everything that I did. But let's go back to hearing it in the mix. Whoops. You know, it might also be this damn reverb I'm using. Hold on. Okay, no, it is this delay. For some reason, I don't know if I'm losing my mind here. I mean, I put it on dry, and I'm still hearing the dang delay. Hold on. Okay, hold on. Hold on, guys. Sorry to be such an idiot here, but I can't figure out what's going on. Hold on. And plus, I've not gotten much sleep lately. I'm just going to tell you, setting up for the stream, some of my cameras weren't working. It was a nightmare. Unfortunately, Harper had to see me throw cables and yell. Sorry, Harper. I think he's kind of getting used to it. I got mad at my USB-C cables. You know, I actually threw some USB-C cables. They were bad cables. Bad USB-C cables. So I had to throw them away. Yeah, what's going on here? Why am I... This dry thing ain't doing shit. Hold on. I wonder if it's something about... Let me just... Hold on. You know, I've been using this plugin for years, and for some reason, this dry thing ain't doing shit. Can it, what? So maybe somebody out there can help me. I've never experienced this before. Why in the heck is the dry knob not working? Okay, that's a mystery. And here I am, never, because I never actually messed with the dry signal with this particular plugin. Apparently, it doesn't work. So, anyway, let's go back to the dry. But here, I'm going to fuck with it anyway. Obviously, it's too long of a reverb. I mean, I guess the thing to do here is just control the volume of the delay. That's cool. I think I like what I had running through my outboard gear better, though. But that is a way, and that's actually how I normally do it. I'll probably be doing the outboard gear thing more in the future now that I have this whole rig set up and it's easy to do. But actually having a delay before the reverb, to me, just gives it more control over the pre-delay. Yeah, sure, Simon. I wish I could have been a little more... You know what? Hold on. I don't like to be defeated. Let me try another delay plugin. Now that I'm on here, I'm like, why is... hold on, let me grab... where are my delays at? Oh, delay. Is there just a... Let me just grab a basic freaking delay here. It's like, I mean, come on, man. Like, hold on. Let me solo that back up. Like, why doesn't the dry signal work? Hold on. Let me go here. So we're here. I guess turn that on too. So we're going to go, oh, these are linked. Okay. Okay, on this plugin, the dry thing works. Okay, so now I can do what I wanted to do. Hold on. There we go. I want to filter it some, though. Here, let me go to the actual... So this is the signal going to the reverb. Yeah, so I can filter the send. Like here, you know. So I'm just going to concentrate on the mid-range. I don't want all that feedback. You right? So now, let's put in the, turn on the reverb. So there it is, no pre-delay. Now we're going to put in the pre-delay. And now we blend it. Let me go a really long one just to demonstrate it. So here it is. There's like a really long pre-delay. You can hear there's kind of like an emptiness between the signal and the reverb. But if I blend it, you kind of get, in a way, the reverb twice, kind of almost bouncing. And that just gives you a lot of options to how the pre-delay sounds. The other thing is, and somebody was talking about this before, you know, does the pre-delay have to be in time? So I'm going to go to just doing it with like milliseconds. So here it is, like, let me zoom in a little bit. There's with the pre-delay. Now no pre-delay. With pre-delay. So sometimes just moving it around and not... not thinking about whether it's an 8th note or 16th note. It doesn't have to be exactly on grid. And sometimes that'll make it sound more noticeable and bigger because it's hitting between where the beat is. Like the reverb's kind of coming in off, and sometimes that sounds better. I'm gonna shorten it. Whoops. And sometimes my pre-delays are only like 50 milliseconds, 40 milliseconds. It's really short. You don't really hear it as like a delay, but it'll kind of throw the reverb to me like it's coming off the back wall. So let's check this out. So here it is. I'm going to turn it up. I'll turn up the reverb a little bit just to hear it. So here it is with the pre-delay on at 45 milliseconds. Now without it. Now with it. And it's a subtle thing. Like, it's not like, oh, boo-boo, but it's kind of like, it just sounds like it's kind of coming from behind you. And it's something I do in vocals a lot. A lot of times on vocals, I'll set the pre-delay from anywhere from 20 to 30 or 40 milliseconds. And it's not something that you go, oh, but it just kind of, you know what a good way of describing it is this. I was actually talking to another producer this morning before the stream, PR, my buddy PR, and I started telling him what I was going to stream today, and he said the cool thing about pre-delay, using pre-delay on reverb, is that you get to have dry vocal and wet vocal at the same time. And I was thinking, like, that's an interesting way of saying it, because it can make the vocal a little clearer because you're not having this reverb right at the moment that a word is being sung, because it's coming slightly after. It kind of gives it more distinction, and I really like that. Yes, Simon, it definitely makes it bouncy. And, you know, going back to what I was talking about before, that the first time I ever learned this trick was in the 80s when I was like 19 or 20, and I was working in Miami at Sunset Sound, which is Casey and the Sunset Sound's studio. And it was all analog, and the guy was running the snare drum sound into a plate reverb, and he ran it through a delay, and I was like, wow, and he was showing it to me, and it was just like, blew my mind. I didn't know about that, and ever since then, I've just been hooked on messing with this stuff.
Casey wonders, have you done a stream or a video about gates and compressors?
Have I done a stream or video about gates or compressors? I've definitely shown some stuff about gates, like on drums. I put gates on live drums. I'm just wondering if I have anything available right at this moment. Oh no, they don't want me to stream that. Yeah, like on a lot of live stuff, I will have a room mic up on the drums, and I'll kind of like compress the heck out of it, and then I'll put a gate on it. And I do have videos about that. There's probably something up on my website.
Do you know which video?
Videos that are focused on compressors. I mean, usually they're part of the video, but I don't, of something else. I can't say that I have a video just about compressors. It's like, and to be honest with you, this is something I struggle a lot with making YouTube videos. It's like, oh, why don't you make a video about recording vocals or compressors? And it's like, well, if I make a video about recording vocals, I could show you all sorts of things about like the mic and the compressors and how I do it. But to be honest with you, a lot of it's like what I'm doing with the singer before we even start recording. I'm going over like their melody and the key it's in and all that kind of, no amount of compression is going to do that. And I know, I get it. Like, you just want to know the settings and stuff like that. But it also, once I get into compressors, just to talk about them alone seems kind of so out of context with other things that are going to be going on, like the mic pre, or especially with gates. Like, there's a lot of things I could do. Anyway, sorry, I just get down the rabbit hole so much on it. It's kind of hard to just focus on one thing. And it's kind of how I mix too. If you ever sat here and watched me when I was mixing, and it's why I have a hard time showing videos about mixing, it's not like I just mix the drums and then I mix the bass and I mix the guitar. I mix the drums and then something will pop in my head. I might jump over to the background vocals and do something. I'm jumping all over the place, and I'll Might even start working on the reverb sound for the snare drum. And then I pop in the guitars and I go, oh, there's something about the mid-range on that. And then I'll jump over to the guitars and I'll do something. And it might be an hour till I come back to that reverb sound. It's like there's no linear method to my process. It's kind of, I think it's because it's mixing. You got to kind of like, if you think about mixing, like you got this pile of stuff and it's really wide, you can't just take the whole thing and move it all forward. You kind of push here, you push here, you push here, you push here, you push here, and eventually the whole thing moves forward. It also might be a function of how my brain works, which is a little bit complicated. So, but I mean, I just say, hey, Kit, why don't we put together a video of, do we have a... never mind. I don't have that shot set up. I thought we had a shot with me and Kit talking. But anyway, do we have a video, or we should make a list of YouTube videos based on subjects? Because I've got a couple videos about recording acoustic guitar. I've got some stuff about mixing rap drums. I've got stuff about recording acoustic instruments and all that. And
miking
drums and stuff like that. We should make a list and have them categorized, because you could go to YouTube and search them, but I'm thinking maybe on the, let's do this.
I was going to say, so if anybody's got suggestions and be like, hey, it'd be really great if Billy did a video about this particular thing, go on the Discord server in the general chat and make suggestions.
Make suggestions, and then, Kit, why don't we do this? Let's make a Discord, I'm new to Discord. I don't know what it's called, because you have, like, pages. I don't know. You have announcements. You have general. You have rooms. I don't know what you call them. I'm still trying to figure out Discord. Channels?
Yes.
I have a channel on my server. So let's make a channel that's a list of all my YouTube videos and by category. So we can have like mixing, recording, stories, because a lot of my videos are stories and kind of goofy stuff. And yeah, let's do that. That's a good idea. And then we can direct people there, because people are always asking, and I'm like, I know I got a video, because I've done tons. I've got hundreds of videos. Hundreds. So I can't remember all of them. I don't like to be defeated. That's exactly, Simon. That's partly that was what was going on earlier when I was setting up for the stream and kind of losing my mind and throwing cables, because I was about to get rid of the rack shot. Let's show the rack shot down here. My Blackmagic camera wasn't working. I refused. So I said, okay, I'll just use the Logitech webcam. I hate giving up. I like not being able to accomplish something, for better or worse. There's probably sometimes I should quit, but I do not like to be defeated.
Anarania points out, this is what YouTube playlists are for. You could group these kinds of things.
Son of a gun! Can you write that down, Kit, too? I do have playlists, but my YouTube channel.
You need to update them.
My YouTube channel's a freaking mess. I'm getting my website done. It's like, yeah, it's funny that you say that, because I was looking at my YouTube channel and my playlist, and it's just like the stupidest stuff on. I'm probably gonna redo. I'm definitely redoing my YouTube channel name, because right now it's called Freaking Out with Billy Hume, and it's just a terrible name. Because I'm freaking out. I was freaking out earlier today, and I'll be freaking out later today. But it doesn't really represent what the channel is now. When I started it, there's gonna be a lot of ranting and me talking about crazy stuff, and it's like, I'm tired of listening to myself rant. I do it around here enough anyway, so I wanted to focus on other things. So I just got to come up with a good name, but that's a good idea. I will do some playlists. It'll be a lot, but thank you. And Anarania, I can't pronounce your name.
Anarania?
Can y'all come up with that? Can't we just have Susan? And is it Anarania? That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Anarania? Is that your real name? I love that.
Can we make a petition where we ask Ableton for a new routing system like Pro Tools? It would be cool.
Like, I was actually going to say, could Pro Tools do some things that Ableton does? I will say I'm not crazy about the whole insert return thing. You know, I have a couple tricks. I don't like being stuck with having to have all my effects returns down here and then they just go out to the master. I actually have a trick, and I've shown it in some other videos. Because sometimes, for instance, like let's say I've got all my live drums in a subgroup, and I'll just do it right here. It's a bit of a roundabout way if you don't mind watching here. Let's say, let's go back to this reverb I was just working on. Where'd I put it? Okay. Let's say, okay, here, I'm going to take out this effects rack. I'm going to copy it. Let's say I don't want to do it that way because I want to use that reverb on multiple tracks. But I've got all the drums. If you look here, I've got all the drums in a group. I want the reverb for the drums in that freaking group. If I send it down to here, so let's say I make a new insert return track. I go, and I hope y'all can follow this, and I hope I can explain it worth a damn. I'm going to call it reverb example, right? Boom. So that is this. I'm going to put this reverb in here that we're using. Paste. I'm going to get rid. I don't really need it as a group now. So let's go. Let's get rid of that. Now I'm going to ungroup it. Don't really need to have it grouped. So now I've got this reverb in here, right? So if I want to get that reverb on this snare drum, let me come back down here. I would go. I send it to here. So it's now coming back in here, right? But it's not, the reverb is not coming back into my drum group. It's coming out to the master fader. But see, a lot of times when I'm mixing, I have different master faders. I have one for the vocals and one for the drums. And if I do that, I can mute the instrument group because I'll make a group for the instruments. That snare drum reverb is still going to come through. And it drives me freaking nuts. So here's what I do. I go here and I make a track. And I'm going to call it reverb example return, right? So now what I do is, and I'm going to code it blue is what I always do. So check it out. I hope you can follow this. This reverb sending here to this insert return, which is coming to here. The insert return output, instead of it going to the master, I tell it to go to, where is it? Oh, it's up here. Here. Going to the reverb example return. So it's sending to that track, right? It's just an audio track. Then on the audio track, I tell its input to be from that insert return. So now it's going to that, but it's just an audio track. But here's what I do. I activate it, and I just, right here, if you see this in button, that means it's looking at the input. And you'll use that often when you're recording to monitor something you're recording if you're not recording, right? I mean, if you're monitoring a track that's record ready, but you're not actually recording, if that makes any sense. So now, if I play the snare drum, now it's coming back into my drum group. And so going back to Pro Tools, and here's the trick though. Okay, check this out. And this is very, very, very important. On all your groups, and actually I should deactivate these. To deal with latency issues, you have to make sure that this track here, this audio track that is now in your drum, in this drum group, so it's the return from your insert return, it's your return from your return, you have to disable these sends right here, and you're not going to need them anyway. And you need to do that. It took me months to figure this out because if you don't, you get a weird latency thing. So it's going to sound like everything's got a delay on it. So now, when I do this, boom, I got my reverb for this snare drum sound or this little poppy sound coming back into my drum group. Check it out. See? So now, instead of having to just be stuck with, like if I want to send multiple drums to that reverb, but it's going to the insert return, which is going to your master output. Now, let's say I want to do it on other sounds. I want to do it on these claps too, Oh, that's why I was noticing that in the mix. It's like the snare drum without the reverb on it. So boom. And it's all nested inside my drum group. Okay, so I hope that makes some sense. But yeah, we should probably tell Pro Tools to Ableton. Could we get an auxiliary return, please? If we could have an auxiliary return, you can kind of get that with this whole grouping thing, because I was talking about grouping earlier, and that's another thing about Ableton that's weird. Let me show this to you. Let's say
poke my head in, let you know we're getting up towards an hour.
Oh yeah, we're over an hour here.
There's a couple of other
questions. But let's say like for these sounds here, for instance, right? Like so. So let's say I want to be able to like if you were in Pro Tools and you want to run that into an auxiliary, you just write them an auxiliary. But in here you do this thing called grouping. You hit group. And now all of those are going to here. So it's like an auxiliary return, but there are definitely limitations to it. If anybody else has got a tip or another way to do it, please let me know. I just wish Ableton would make auxiliary returns.
So is there any use case where you would use a multiband compressor on an individual track?
I, for the longest time, was using multiband compressors on vocals to kind of get rid of harshness, but I didn't think any of them worked well. And then along came FabFilter's Pro Q3, which has got like that dynamic EQ in it. And in case you don't know, the only thing I can really show it on would be some of these vocals. So like, let's say... it's kind of hard to show on these vocals because I got them all mixed up on the different. I'll just show it on the whole track here because it's kind of hard to explain the way I work. But so let's say I'll just show it here. So let's say I go here and I got these vocals and I want it's a kind of harsh. And by the way, put it on natural phase. So let's say I'm on these vocals and I want to get rid of some of the harshness, which is usually like 3 or 4K. Then
I had to let it die.
So there's my vocals. Let's say I pick a frequency here. Let's just say 4K, narrow bandwidth. What you do is you right click on it and you go make dynamic. And then this control here, I bring it down this way. And then when it gets more of that frequency, it pushes it down.
I had to let it die. I never could comply with walking through my life.
So it's weird that inside this EQ, you kind of have like a multiband compressor. So that's what I used to use multiband compressors for. Sometimes maybe on a drum kit or something like that. A bass guitar, for sure, I used to. But like I said, now that I got Pro Q3, I haven't touched a multiband compressor in a while. Now, I know a lot of people like to use multiband compressors on their mixes, and sometimes I do. But ever since I've got Pro Q3, my life has changed. What brand of mouse are you using? It's a funny question. So this is a, what is this? This is an Elecom. I bought it because I was using the Logitech, but they're all like wireless, and I'm always losing that little thing, and I like having the wire. And I think this is made in China. I think they just reverse engineered the Logitech one. But the trick with this thing, now what's cool about it, it actually has a, it's got a control panel, and hold on, let me see, where is, it's in here somewhere. Oh, here it is. Boom. So it's got a lot of controls because it's got a lot of buttons. I actually don't use most of the buttons. It's got like 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, and you can do this thing with the scroll. Like for here's a great example of what I do this thing for. So with my mouse, the little scroll wheel here, if you can press it, of course, but you can nudge it to the side, left or right. So check it out. So here you can see in Ableton that I'm on grid. If I want to go to slip, I just hold on. Oh my God, is it not gonna? Oh, I wonder if I just unprogrammed it.
Ruh-roh.
I think I just unprogrammed it. God dang it! I think somehow opening that up. Hold on. Undo. Oh no. Let me just close it. I had this thing. Oh, there it goes. Okay. So check it out. If I just flick the mouse from I'm going kind of hitting it and kind of moving or not the mouse, but the scroll wheel, it changes from my grid from off to on. And then, what's the other one? In Pro Tools, and in Pro Tools, if I have it programmed, so if I press the scroll button down, it switches between the edit window and the mix window. And you can do other things. I think these buttons here, I don't know. And actually, there's a third button over here that I haven't programmed for anything yet. But yeah, it's an Elecom. I will warn you, when you buy this thing, the manual makes no sense whatsoever. And if you want to download, like I think you have to download the control panel or something, and you go to the website, it's in Chinese, and it's kind of hard to find the English version, and sometimes you have to kind of interpret it. But I actually like it. I've had this same mouse here for like 10 years. Anyway, wait, did somebody talking about an AI?
Yeah, but somebody else has a question. What is the Behringer UMC 22?
Oh, is that what I'm using?
I don't know.
Hold on. Are you talking about my interface here? Okay, so I am using, so for my live stream, so just so you understand the way I'm live streaming here, a lot of people ask about this. The way this works is doing all the music in Pro Tools. All of that comes into the mixer here, the Soundcraft Ghost, and our microphones are all run into here as well. That sends a signal, just stereo. Everything's already, I'm mixing everything, just stereo. That runs out and it goes into a PC. So I'm streaming on a PC. I'm doing all the music on a Mac. So all the music, all that's happening on the Mac. These microphones are all coming into the board. Mac is coming into the board. Then that signal gets sent out of Group 7 and 8 right here. Group 7 and 8 goes to patch bay. The patch bay goes to it's just one of these little 2-channel Behringer interfaces, which was bought for me by the Risky Biscuit Band, which is a Twitch group. They do stream on Twitch and all that, and they're big supporters of mine, and they literally bought that for me. And then, so it goes into that, and then that goes into the PC, and all the cameras are hooked up to the PC, so the streaming all happens on a separate PC. So that's what I'm using the Behringer for.
And then I have the MT48. Any idea how to record the outboard FX of it? He's been having a problem. Linear mode is the preference.
I'm not sure what you mean, like recording outboard effects. Like, do you want to record outboard effects using your interface? You would have to, and I'm not sure what chat are we on here, Crystal? What is this from? Is this
that one's IG? That one's Instagram.
Oh boy, that thing goes by so fast. Hold on, let me see if I don't know if I can find it
It should be towards the bottom. Oh no, because it tells you every time people pop in.
Okay, so MT48 probably has 8 inputs and outputs. I have no idea how that works. Probably you got to make sure that all the inputs and outputs are recognized by your DAW. And then what you'd have to do is have a send like an auxiliary send, or like I'm doing in here in Ableton, which I showed, where I just did it from, I have an auxiliary return here, but instead of it returning to back into the DAW, I'm sending it to an external output, which is coming out of the interface. That goes into the outboard gear, and the outboard gear comes back into 3 and 4. So I might send out of 3, the return on 3 and 4 or something like that, and record it back in. And that's how I was doing it up to the point I got this board in here. The problem with that is that sometimes the gain structure is not right. Maybe if you have a software, there's some utility you can do it, but you're gonna have to do it with the other ins and outs on your interface. So that sounds like there's probably an 8 in, 8 out. So basically, you're gonna have to use, your 1 and 2 is gonna be for like monitoring probably. So you want to use, 3 through 8 for that.
Saxon 7 says his DAW ate his homework.
Oh no, God.
We are about 15 minutes past time.
Thanks,
almost
Simon.
20. There was one other thing. What was it?
Oh, actually, somebody, do you keep vocals mono and have reverb on stereo or both on stereo? So vocals are going to be mono. I mean, a single vocal will be mono. It's just one sound, unless you got two microphones set up or you're doing. And I just want to say this: a lot of people, I see people putting these weird stereo wideners on their vocals. Don't do that. Don't put it on the vocal track. Keep your vocal mono. Now, if I'm doubling the vocals, yeah, I'll pan them apart for sure. You know, like here, like I got this stuff. I mean,
Life as a stranger.
of course, I'm stacking a bunch of vocals here, and they're panned, man. Like I got a lot of tracks here. Right? So I'll pan individual vocals.
I feel it come alive.
But I send to the reverb, and this may be the question you're asking, the send to the reverb is mono. You can send a stereo send to these reverbs, the outboard reverbs, but it's going to be a mono. So, sometimes I will send a stereo send to a reverb. Like, let's say I got a guitar. Let's say I'm using a plugin, a stereo reverb plugin. I might send the guitar, and it depends on the plugin. I might send the guitar out of a stereo send, and if you pan the send, it will mimic a position in that reverb, so it sounds like it's in a particular, place in that reverb. But dude, half the time that don't work. Like I've experimented with a lot of plugins, and I'll pan that stereo send, and I can't hear any difference. So definitely on the outboard stuff, I'm just going mono in, and then stereo return. If that answers your question.
Want to do one more question before we go?
Yeah. So Hilton Jones is asking let's go to the mixer view here. My wedge reverb. I'm doing that. Yes, on my professional mixes. I just got done doing some work for the band Rehab. I produced a song and mixed it, and then I mixed two more, and I was definitely using this right here because this thing has a setting on here that is, what is it? It's called Cedar Room or something like that. Cedar Room. It's like a small room sound, and I actually was using this back in the day when I first started working on rap and doing Little John mixes, and I wasn't doing it in the computer, and this was actually some of the early Little John songs that I mixed. I use this reverb on the vocals. It's like a short sound, So if you're listening to like Bia, Put Your Hood Up, maybe I can't remember. Some of that I did on ADATs, and then we'd go into the board, Bone Crusher, a lot of that early stuff. This is the reverb I use. And then put it away for a while, and now I'm kind of swinging back to it. So like a couple of weeks ago when I was working on Rehab, I was using this reverb for vocals. So I'm gonna have to end the stream. Simon, you asked. Let's go to the rack real quick. So Simon, this is a Roland. I'll just go ahead and move the camera here. It's a Roland. Can you see that? SDE 2000. And I got this in the 80s. I bought it used in the 80s. And it's got a cool sound to it. It's like, I don't know. It's got a cool grainy sound, but that's what it is. An SDE -2000. I don't know if they make any plugins for it. It'd be an interesting thing to find out. I've actually been talking to a programmer who's helped me work on some stuff. We're talking about making custom plugins. And hey, maybe we can do our own Roland SDE 2000 digital delay plugin. We'll see. I got to talk to him about that. He's just working on my website now. And I've got a couple surprises and ideas. Don't want to talk about them yet, but we're definitely talking about doing some plugins. And that's another thing. If anybody's got any suggestions on customized plugins that I could make, please go to my Discord and go into the general comments and just drop it in there. Crystal, if you could put up the Discord link, that'd be great. And I'm really excited about that. That's coming down the line somewhere. But I definitely got to get to work. I've got to get ready for this session tomorrow with Terrell Sass doing drums. We're going to be doing that up. I've got a drum room upstairs. I got to get everything set up for that session. So I appreciate everybody watching the live stream. asking questions, making comments. Go check out my YouTube channel. Come back and visit me here next Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I appreciate the help from Crystal. I would normally have a camera on Harper, but I was having camera problems. Harper, you can at least say goodbye or something nice.
Bye, everybody.
There he goes. Thanks, Harper, and thanks to all of y'all. Y'all have a good day. I'll see you next Wednesday. Take 1, take 2, take 3, take 4, take 5, take whatever.